Hello everyone, so this is my first tutorial. Some people have been asking for these, and I've decided to start with the first video that I posted, which was me playing a Tay Dever beat. Now, some of you might be familiar with Rick Beato. He, on YouTube, has these videos, what makes this song great? Well, consider this a kind of what makes this beat great. So, little story here, about a month ago, I tuned into Instagram and found saw this video of a drummer doing a very unique beat, and I saw that his name was Tay Dever. And if you want to see him doing this beat, just go to his profile, and in his reels, he's pinned it as the first video. So go check that out. You can watch him playing it according to this little melody, or along with this little melody. And so when I saw this video a little over a month ago, it inspired me, and so I really wanted to learn how he was doing this beat. I wanted to learn it myself. I saw in the comments section no one really could figure out what it was, and a lot of people were wanting to know how to play this beat. Tay wasn't sort of giving any of his secrets away. So on my day off, and I'm a priest and a pastor of a church in Philadelphia, but I have drums as my outlet, and so I like to play a little bit of drums on my day off. So I went over and I wanted to figure out this beat. After a little bit of trial and error and looking closely at his hands, and I basically was able to figure it out before too long. And then I made and posted a drum transcription, which you can find on my posts of this beat, and then which Tay Dever liked, by the way. And then I decided just to make a video of me playing this beat, and that was my first video, and things kind of took off, and I've been making videos ever since. So it's a really unique and creative beat. I have not seen anything quite like it before, and so I wanted to kind of break that down for you in this video. So in my mind, there are two things that make this beat great. The first is that it's a linear beat, which in itself is not unique, but he spends most of the time on the snare, which in most linear beats, drummers spend most of their time on the hi-hat, or perhaps equal time between the hi-hat and the snare. But he's spending most of the time on the snare and only hitting the hi-hat every once in a while. So that's the first thing. And the second thing that's unique is what I like to think of as the spice that he adds to this beat, which is a bass drum pattern over top the pattern with the hands. And then he has an open hi-hat right before the backbeat on beat 3. Now we can think of this beat in 32nd notes or 16th notes. I think it's easier to think of it in 16th notes and think of it as a halftime groove. So the backbeat, it's going to be on beat 3. So the of 2 right before beat 3 is going to be an open hi-hat right before the backbeat. And then lastly, in the spice, you have a little bit of space that he works into this, and in that space he does a stick flip, actually 2 stick flips, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So these are some of the unique elements to this beat. Now let's talk about how to do it. And what I want to do is start with the hands. So a lot of people were thinking that he was doing paradiddles with the hands, but that's not actually correct. And to cut to the chase, what it is, it's 2 5-stroke rolls evened out plus a 6-stroke roll. So for those of you who know your rudiments, right, you know the 5-stroke roll. Right, but what I want you to do is take that and even it out. So you have 5 equal notes and just loop that. Okay, so in the beat, you have 2 5-stroke rolls evened out, one starting with the right, one starting with the left, and then you're going to add a 6-stroke roll. And if you do your math, 5 plus 5 plus 6 is 16, and there's 16 16th notes in a measure of 4/4, so it's just a 1-measure pattern that loops with some variations, as we'll talk about. So if you just start with that, I'm going to play a metronome here at 110. The beat is around 170 that he plays, but I'm going to slow this down for the tutorial. So I think the first thing to start with is just to get used to these 2 5s and a 6 and to loop that. And so he doesn't do this in the beat, but we're going to start with the 5s and then do the 6. So here's 110, and here's basically the beat. Okay, so, but then we're going to displace all of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with 2 lefts, but really think of the 6-stroke roll starting on the end of 1. So that's the key. That's how you're going to displace this. And then once you do the 6-stroke roll, then you're going to add on the 2 5-stroke rolls, which is going to take you into the beginning of the next measure, and ending with those 2 lefts. Now the 5-stroke rolls, basically he's hitting the beginning of them on the hi-hat. And with the 6-stroke roll, he's basically starting with the hi-hat with the right. He goes back to the snare, and then he ends with the hi-hat on the left. And then as soon as he's done, the end of that 6-stroke roll, the beginning of the 2 5s, you have a backbeat with the right hand on beat 3. Okay, so again, pretend this is the hi-hat, this is the snare. I'm going to turn the metronome back on, and I'm going to play the beat in terms of how he hits the hi-hat. Hopefully you'll hear it and you can see the drum transcription too. And I'll just loop it a few times for you. Okay, so that's basically the beat. So once you figure that out and loop it and get comfortable with that, then you can go to the next phase. Now, the last thing I'll say about that is you want to make sure that the ghost notes, especially on the snare, are all quiet, but hit a little louder on the hi-hat, and then especially on the backbeat on beat 3 on the snare, which is always with the right hand. All right, so with the next thing to do is to add in the bass drum, and the bass drum, I'm going to play the bass drum beat here, and I'm going to play it with the snare beat so you can hear how it sounds together. So the bass drum is basically plays on 1 and 2, and then the end of 4 on the first measure, and then only on beat 2 on the second measure. And so together it sounds like this. Okay, so that's basically the kind of groove accent pattern that's happening over top this linear hand beat. So once you get the hands, then you have to work on the bass drum. It's a little tricky, but the drum's transcription will help you to see where the bass drum lands. And you just go slow, practice maybe one measure at a time, then put them together, and eventually you'll get it. Then you want to add in the open hi-hat. Now this might sound complicated on top of the rest of this, but it's actually not that complicated, because if you simply just hit the hi-hat with your left foot, you just close your hi-hat with the left foot on beats 3, in other words on the back beat, then that's really all you have to do. And when you go up to the hi-hat before you hit the back beat, it's automatically going to be open. So you really don't have to think about it. So for those of you who are used to keeping either quarter notes or just playing on the back beat on the hi-hat with the left foot, then this is not going to be hard for you. And then the last thing to go over would be the space and the stick flips. So he with the space, basically you'll see what he does is the first part of the beat he breaks off with basically he does 2 beats and then he breaks when he breaks. So 1 E and a 2 E and a. And he doesn't do the back beat. Instead, he leaves space, and then what he does is he flips the stick once, then he hits the crash, then he flips the stick a second time, and then he starts the beat again, but if you notice, he starts the beat on the back beat, which is with the right on the snare. So you just have to be able to start the beat then again with the back beat, but go right back to the same pattern as we learned before. So that takes a little bit of practice as well. You put all that together and you'll be able to do this really creative and unique beat. And so hopefully this has been helpful in highlighting the brilliance and creativity of Tay Deva's beat.